Perhaps a cheerleader wouldn't encourage it, but I have to get it up. Then if the third person tells me you're hot, then whatever. As a shooter like you, I believe your confidence only keeps growing. It's simply slipping out of your hand more. Isley.rim. The Fever ought to decide between Caitlin and Stephanie. You came here to slow down Caitlin Clark. Stephanie White. He is unaware of Caitlin Clark's current situation. It's completely opposed to Caitlin Clark. Caitlin must be allowed to be herself. The Stephanie White defenders should come out, please, because it is very evident that Caitlin Clark is not a good fit for Stephanie White as a coach. Caitlin Clark is attracting attention following being seen using her damaged leg to kick a football. I don't think Stephanie White recognized that Caitlin Clark is Caitlin Clark, the ship that moved all the fucking boats. However, is Caitlin Clark? According to Stephanie White, Caitlin Clark isn't all set to play. The squad must make difficult shots in order to implement Stephanie White's chosen strategy. For example, this team will not be able to use that system in the long run. However, fans are wondering why Caitlin is out there using her damaged leg to kick a football actually occurring. Your star is this. This is the public face of your club and franchise. In the absence of Caitlin Clark, the league is nothing. Leave a 100% in the comments section, right? Now, if you completely agree with Caitlin Clark, the individual raising the viewership is Caitlin Clark. Tickets for the upcoming season are being sold out. By Caitlin Clark. She is only the WNBA's battery. Let's reveal the reality of this drama surrounding injuries. Let's move to Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. Most supporters were understanding when Caitlin Clark was sidelined due to a groin ailment. Accidents occur, it is a component of the game. However, the timeline's increasing ambiguity and irregularities are what are now causing concern. We are aware that Caitlin Clark has a groin ailment at the moment. Now, Hurt's looking eerie guy to be going back to the basketball courts. We haven't really heard anything on when she might be able to return. Stephanie White isn't a horrible coach, in my opinion. Actually, I believe Stephanie, although White is an excellent coach, we will doubt her capacity to coach Caitlin Clark. In particularly when it comes to head coach, Stephanie White. Stephanie declared in public that they will exercise greater caution this Caitlin's recuperation time. Although it's always encouraging to see her dressed up for practice, let's take a closer look at what actually happened in Iowa today. The Indiana Fever's current coach is Stephanie White. Clark would require a full ramp-up phase, she said. Clark may return for this game against the Connecticut Sun. The process of rehabilitation, readiness to play, and ramp-up must now begin. Additional exercises, more rhythm, and time spent with teammates before going back. But hold on. Didn't they put her back into action without providing her with any of those items the last time? Lessens the pressure on her to make a speedy comeback, which I believe she achieved early in the season. On-air reports state that prior to her return from her prior injury, Clark did not receive any conditioning or practice time. What is causing the Fever to suddenly become so cautious now? The last time you didn't allow her any ramp-up time or practice. That's not what you did. She was basically thrown out there by you. Not to mention that Clark recently consulted a specialist, and the results of that examination revealed no additional injury. Nothing structurally incorrect. Her healing process is most likely rather advanced. Her groin injury is not as severe, as everyone believes, in my opinion. Granted, that's awful, but I don't believe it will end my career or anything similar. She only needed to visit the appropriate physicians and had no problems. What precisely is the holdup then? Naturally, Caitlin Clark missed her 13th game of the season today. There are some updates available. She did see a specialist last week. The examination and scan revealed no further injuries. However, Stephanie White did inform us that they will use much greater caution when their strategy for getting her to play again. She didn't have any practice time or a chance to improve her conditioning when she returned from her injury the last time. Thus, They will ensure that she has. Time this time dot throughout drills to gain timing and rhythm with her peers. According to their calendar, there are a few more practice days during the third week of August, so that appears doable. Additionally, even if she stays on a daily basis, that they have stated that we will be significantly more cautious this time. And that practice ramping up will be crucial. Thus, it looks like a better timeline for a potential return of Caitlin Clark. Is this an attempt to control the narrative? Or is it about her health? Is Caitlin Clark the one setting out games? Or is she being forced to do so by the Indiana Fever? Is the Fever an organization that is exaggerating? Because Stephanie White engages in public relations by claiming that we only wish to Beatty. Facts don't match, so proceed with caution. The comeback date of Caitlin Clark isn't exactly set in stone. No further injuries have been reported, according to Holly Rowe. However, the organization continues to treat Caitlin as though she is weak. It doesn't add up. Particularly when you take into account Clark's spirit of competition. She wouldn't even consider walking onto a football pitch, much less swinging her leg to kick a ball if she was still in excruciating pain. And there's this deeper problem. Stephanie White might be attempting to change public opinion by fabricating this time frame. The team's ability to make difficult shots is essential to 70W's favored system. As if that system wouldn't call a Barrett with this team for a long time? Make it appear as though Caitlin isn't prepared so that any choices to put her on the sidelines or postpone her return would look appropriate. Since it is obvious that Stephanie White is not the best coach for Caitlin Clark, I want all of the people who are defending her to come out. Here's the reality, though. Caitlin Clark doesn't appear to be recuperating from a serious illness. Fans are now wondering if Stephanie White is merely buying time or if she is concealing the true reason. Caitlin isn't performing, because what we're being told and what we're seeing are different. The real tale took a crazy turn when video of Caitlin Clark kicking a football appeared. Despite Stephanie White's portrayal of prudence and injury control, a video of Caitlin Clark showcasing her football prowess has surfaced. We now know that she was a football player. Here's a 5-second video of Caitlin Clark kicking his fucking football. Indeed, the Indiana Fever said she was too injured to play. Again, because of the same leg. She shouldn't be doing things like that because Clark is currently supposed to be injured. You can see her kicking a football. Observe her right leg, specifically the wounded groin. Fans weren't the only ones who noticed. Confusion, annoyance, and an increasing feeling that something was being withheld from them erupted within of them. Let's resolve this. Plainly down. According to reports, Caitlin Clark has a groin ailment which usually restricts movement, explosiveness, and undoubtedly leg swings. However, at a charity function in Des Moines, Iowa, where she was born, Caitlin Clark was back in Des Moines, Iowa, her hometown. In addition to moving freely, Caitlin was seen on camera doing a full leg football kick in front of kids and supporters. No hesitancy, no limp, and no obvious pain. Many Fever followers are humming the same song as she swings her damaged leg while suffering from a groin injury. However, Caitlin Clark is kicking a fucking football right here. She is shown grinning, engaging with children, and displaying excitement in the video. Hello everyone, how are we doing? I can't wait to get here. To begin with, how nice does this court look? Looks really fantastic. The sort of happiness that only occurs when you're not in any physical pain. The natural question that fans started to ask was, if she can do that, why can't she play basketball? It's not just a toe tap. We're talking about using force to swing the leg through the ball. The exact motion that would strain a muscle in the groin. Executing a football hook kick. The one that was hurt. However, Caitlin appeared completely composed, in control, and vivacious. 3 additional weeks of ramp-up conditioning are not necessary for that individual. That person appears to be prepared. You can almost certainly play basketball if you can kick a soccer ball. There is a difference between simple motion and it's hardly a negative sign, either, to play in a WNBA basketball game. What gives, then? Some people believe that Caitlyn's groin ailment is being utilized as a convenient cover to keep her out of action. Why? Why? Perhaps to keep her safe. Perhaps to allow others to shine on the roster. Or perhaps just possibly it's political. Concerns are mounting that Clark is not being adequately managed, centered on appearances rather than health. The discrepancies become more apparent at this point. On the one hand, Stephanie White and team representatives claim to be defending Caitlyn. Nevertheless, you have real video shows Caitlyn being a healthy athlete, moving around freely, kicking soccer balls, and giving back to the community. This did not occur in a private setting. Fans were filming, cameras were rolling, and the event was public. More Caitlyn footage? They are currently playing on the court. Man, it's really awesome. Look at all the folks who were out there with her, bro. That's the best part of it. If the Fever really intended to maintain the appearance that she was, why even allow her to play football while she's recuperating? It becomes more profound. This was no publicity gimmick. While in Iowa, Caitlyn donated hundreds of backpacks to children through her Caitlyn Clark Foundation. Then there's Caitlyn Clark, was out and about doing something for the Caitlyn Clark Foundation, which involved giving bags to some children. This gesture was really wonderful. 500 youngsters received school materials from Caitlyn and her nonprofit. She also unveiled brand new basketball courts for children from underprivileged neighborhoods, and this year we're able to repeat the event. We were fortunate enough to assist more than 500 children in the community last year, once more here this year. In Indianapolis, where I currently reside, we also did it. However, I always enjoy returning here and being in the moment. Of course, this location holds great significance for me, and you are aware that I hope to be able to return here and carry out this annual activity. I had the good fortune to accomplish this last year. He assisted with the opening of a brand new outdoor court. And despite all that was going well, the only mainstream because it reveals a deception. That 5-second football kick was the topic of discussion. Not only does a significant groin injury take time to heal, but it also prevents you from executing a hard, balanced football kick. Now, has she always been prepared? Followers wonder. If so, why and by whom is she being kept off the floor? Caitlyn is not to blame for this. She is continuing to give back and stay the same, active and maintaining ties to her people and the game. Kayla Cork has made it her mission to help those children, support them, distribute backpacks, and serve as a good example. However, this widely shared video revealed the Fever and Stephanie White have been spreading a well-crafted message. And as you watch it more, you begin to question whether Caitlyn Clark is being punished or shielded. Because the evidence indicates that she is fine if this is a health issue. However, this goes beyond basketball. If it's about power battles, ego, or control inside the squad, and it will have a significant negative impact. Caitlyn is the league's spokesperson in addition to being a player, and watching that exact face kick a football with strength and confidence as the coaching team tells the world she's not ready is the most damaging viral video to the Fever story. Caitlyn was using an all-time heater when she abruptly stopped shooting, a minor injury update has suddenly descended into a full-fledged scandal. I am not really sure what is happening. Using video of Caitlyn Clark vigorously kicking a football spreading online. Fans are now enraged rather than merely perplexed. And as this story progresses, it appears that Stephanie White's injury narrative for the Indiana Fever is crumbling under its own weight. A player like Caitlyn is impossible to tell. Clark should never shoot the ball. A player like Caitlyn Clark, who plays instinctively, is impossible to control. The criticism on social media has been unrelenting. Are we being misled? Fans are questioning. Is Caitlyn's benching despite her obvious activity due to an injury or something more planned? Many people think the Indiana Fever aren't handling a medical issue, They're in charge of Caitlin Clark directly. Let's be honest. Basketball player Caitlin Clark is more than that. She is the WNBA's engine. Ratings are breaking records because of her. The cause of the crowded arenas. The individual raising the viewership is Caitlin Clark. Fans from all walks of life are flocking to see Caitlin Clark, who is selling out season tickets. She is only the WNBA's battery, the cause of women's basketball's eventual national media interest. Despite this, the Fever are treating her like a liability on a daily basis, as if their right would be better without her on the court. The same company that failed to allow her enough time to build up earlier in the season is now acting as though conservative returns are important. Clark's abuse was once minimized by the same coach competing on the court. Are you attempting to find me once more? I am not. They can play with a certain level of physicality against her. I mean, really. As an opponent, I was aware of that. You know, I'm not really sure why, but it's just the way it is. I view it as her coach. Additionally, we need to teach her how to adapt and use it against them in certain ways. We need to locate some strategies to help her a tiny bit. However, our league's general level of physicality has been higher than it has been in a while. Is now adamant that she is too weak to participate. Fans are pointing out that it is the worst kind of hypocrisy. Longtime WNBA fans are publicly saying on sites like X, Reddit, and YouTube, this isn't about her groin. This is about control. This is about politics. This is about jealousy. There is a growing perception that certain people in the league, and possibly the organization, are upset that Caitlin Clark has surpassed the WNBA in popularity, that she eclipses coaching staff, seasoned players, and even the league's own image. People are starting to see the connections now that she is sidelined and seems healthy. Consider it, despite being benched, Caitlin Clark does not limp. She is present for team drills. She hosts public gatherings. You must allow the gunman to fire. Additionally, Caitlin must be allowed to be herself. Caitlin must be allowed to be herself. The squad must make difficult shots in order to implement Stephanie White's chosen strategy. For example, that system will not be viable in the long run. With this group, they will lose a lot of followers because of Stephanie White, not Caitlin Clark. The Fever ought to decide between Caitlin and Stephanie. I want every bit of Stephanie. It's obvious that Stephanie White is not the best coach for Caitlin Clark. Thus, White apologists should come out. The ship that moved all the fucking boats, however, is Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is attracting attention following her saw, using her damaged leg to kick a football. The fact that Caitlin Clark is Caitlin? Furthermore, I don't believe Stephanie White realized that she was sprinting, jumping, kicking, and doing anything but getting ready for Agam. Stephanie White, however, asserts that she needs more time to regain her rhythm. With a bench player, such justification could be acceptable. But Caitlin Clark is a player who has exceptional conditioning, a relentless work ethic, and a league that depends on her presence. Fans aren't the only ones losing trust, though. The change in the locker room is palpable. While Caitlin rests, some players are doing quite well. Others appear oddly silent. According to reports, some people are envious of the attention she receives. Keeping Clark on the bench exacerbates the already widening gap. Here's what complicates matters further, though. Caitlin Clark doesn't like to gripe. She won't make cryptic tweets or disparage her coach in interviews after games. She doesn't do that. Rather, she's letting her behavior do the talking. She doesn't care at all, dog. She is doing what she wants to do. She seemed a little strange. And for those of you who don't recall, there was a period when on the three-point line, she was completely exposed, almost overturned when the pump feigned. She may have turned it over because she was afraid to shoot the ball, in my opinion. She continues to be active. She continues to be visible. Without using words, she is demonstrating to the world that she is okay. By doing this, she's highlighting the discrepancy between what fans can see with their own eyes and what the Fever says. At her charity event in Iowa, where she opened a new basketball court and distributed 500 bags. She's cutting her ribbons and distributing the bags, and it's very lovely. That video was made possible by Caitlin Clark and her influence. It was best expressed by one child. She is superior to Steph Curry. She will win MVP each year. Bro, she might be superior to Steph Curtis. She is superior to Steph. She may. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. We adore her. Indeed, I'm not even concerned. She will win MVP each and every year. The next generation perceives her in that way. Millions of fans view her that way. And for that reason, whether deliberate or not, this cover-up is turning into a catastrophe for the league. Because this is the reality. Caitlin Clark is all set to go. Caitlin Clark is swinging and kicking the football because of the system that surrounds her. Caitlin Clark is not seen doubting her jump shots. Caitlin Clark's fear of shooting the ball is not visible to us. As if that were bad. Something is wrong, whether it's a locker room that's dysfunctional, an insecure coaching staff, or a league that doesn't know how to deal with its biggest star. Additionally, if the Indiana addition to losing games, the careless Fever will also lose Caitlin Clark's trust. Caitlin Clark's loss of fans will be attributed to Stephanie White. The Fever ought to decide between Stephanie and as well as Caitlin, and it's difficult to regain trust after it's been lost. Caitlin's silence is becoming more than just enigmatic. It is potent. Stephanie White doesn't need to be called out. She does not have to make a demand. Responses in public, since the fans are already aware of what is taking place. The tampering is visible to them. The gaslighting is visible to them. They observe the unfairness. And they won't remain silent for very long. Now, the question is straightforward. Given everything Caitlin Clark does, how long will the Indiana Fever continue to act as if nothing is wrong? This group never leaves without Caitlin Clark just being herself. The team cannot function without Caitlin being herself. We are aware of that. Every viewer of Fever is aware that Caitlin is Caitlin. The evidence is now directly in front of us. Caitlin Clark isn't letting her brokenness keep her from participating. Because of the system around her, she is not participating. The timeline of Stephanie White is not accurate. The appearance of frailty was destroyed by the video of Caitlin kicking a football. Even while the Fever promotes a cautious narrative, Caitlin never stops displaying the courage, heart, and tenacity of a champion. She is not the issue. She is the norm. She is not a novice to oversee. She is a powerful force. The league's biggest star is Caitlin. We are all aware of this. We wouldn't be, not for C's sake, here. Let Caitlin be Caitlin because, let's face it, what is the season's best clip of Caitlin making those 3 threes in 30 seconds or less? Fans are aware of this. Thus, if you're still give Caitlin a 100% rating in the comments section, right? Now for enduring the falsehoods, the misunderstanding, and the quiet. Inform the league that we have discovered the truth. Because whatever, despite their best efforts to keep her back, Caitlin Clark's leadership skills and the entire globe is observing.